There's an awful glitch on X, the Everything app, where sometimes when I open it, it plays every single voice note that I've sent during the day. And obviously some voice notes to some people are going to be quite mucky. So suddenly you'll open Twitter up in public and then suddenly the foulest shit you've ever heard will be getting fucking blasted from your phone speakers. That is an insane bug. How the fuck does that work? How does every voice chat and every fucking message play at once?
What do you mean some of the voice notes you're getting a kind of mucky?
No, the ones that I send to certain lads.
What? Oh, that is fucking foul. We're not allowed to talk about that anymore. We're hemorrhaging subscribers.
Because that one listener, he can shove it up his fucking ass.
He said he turned off after 1 minute because of your scatological fetish, he said.
That's his fucking problem. And if we lose a paying customer, he's disloyal. He's loyal than shit to me. That's what he is. I don't give a fuck what he fucking thinks.
If we're hemorrhaging subscribers because you're talking about gay sex too much, we need to be getting 2 gay subscribers for every 1 straight that we lose.
Yeah, I think it's just that's how the mathematics all works out in the end, is that, we lose a few, we gain many more.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We don't know that.
Trust in it. I believe in it.
I don't know if you can see, I dropped a joint on my glasses and it's just burnt into it. I can't see fucking anything.
How do you manage that?
I don't know. I just left it on it. It's got a big fucking dent. What was that?
Fuck me.
Who was just screaming?
Him.
It was you? That's mental.
The microphone fell because I've got it balanced on my cushions and I was trying to clean this tiny speck off the fucking glasses that won't come up.
Do you have a desk?
Yeah, but I like it in here.
We have a laptop. I doubt it's not a desk.
You need to get one of these. It's like a tenner for this.
Yeah, I'll get it eventually. I'll get a desk. I mean, I've got a desk. I just sit in here. There's a great view. Anyway, I can watch the sunset for miles and miles. You can look down on all their paupers in their shitty fucking red brick houses.
Well, I mean, you are also in one of those, I think. I don't know if it's red brick, but it's a shite house. I mean, it's a tough house, but it looks disgusting internally, externally.
It's gorgeous, you fucking wanker.
I mean, the interior design is
I imagine you fucking live in.
What are you on about? Look at this. There's even a poster on the wall.
How do I make your screen bigger? I can't see a fucking poster.
Dave's got Garfield on his wall, I think. I'm just zooming in.
Yeah, he has.
Wow. You can see all sorts on Dave's fucking wall. Right. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the bugs and the dinosaurs on his wall again.
Looks like there's some anime, manga, and fun stuff on the wall.
I love it,
Wow. It'd be a good bit over time, just like to see if we notice, just replace one of those like anime posters with just like hentai or yaoi or any of that, just like one at a time. Just like thinking, is there some Japanese lad in the background getting fucked?
We recognise that in the Middle East, Jews and Palestinians belong in the same space. None of them are going anywhere. And those desiring otherwise must be defeated. That this space has to be shared. What is going on in your head? I went to a screening of the 7th of October atrocities committed by Hamas. Now, for context, I went at the request of a Israeli-British friend who I've known for a long time. It was an IDF screening. Are you people on track?
Do you believe Hamas is a terror group?
Yes.
Should Hamas remain in power?
No.
What are you saying is misinformation?
I mean, firstly, accused me of defending Hamas. Nowhere did I deny that British men of Pakistani origin had raped mainly white girls. Do you think you're serious journalists? It's not racist or untrue to talk about those scams. What is the editorial process here? You cannot make this shit up. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's worth just losing that shit occasionally. This is not normal. So that's why it's important to talk about anti-Semitism. Please like and subscribe. Please support us on patreon.com/Scroungers84. Skip the show on the road. Help us take on the pro-genocide media. Patreon.com/Scroungers84. This is so fucked up.
Scroungers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a show called Scroungers Podcast. I do believe this is episode 6. And I am your host, Eyup Lovely, from the World Wide Web. And I am joined, as always, by my illustrious co-host, Jacob Venom Snake, the hapless homo. Jacob, please say hello.
Hi, everyone. And this episode, I'm completely sober.
Yep. And nothing went wrong when we tried to record this last time. It was just a poor timing.
Technical mishap.
And I'm also joined by my other and, I'll be the first one to say it, my much more committed co-host, Dave number 7. Dave, please say hello.
Hello. More popular co-host as well.
More popular, I do suppose. Though we should try and get some data on that, probably. Some polling data. I mean, ones that's not skewed by, the audience that you're pitching it to. So what's going on in the world? I do suppose, before we get into any of the meat today, they are planning in Manchester to rename job centres to Live Well centres. They're spending £10 million. The beautiful Andy Burnham is spending £10 million to change job centres into Live Well centres. Every job centre I've ever been to has been it's like a concentration camp. They got G4S security just marching around. They're all bollocking you like you're the fucking, like, they're my superior. I think it's despicable. I think Andy Burnham's despicable. I seen Andy Burnham when I was in Manchester once, and he looked a right cunt. And I can't stand him. But they all love him. And in the wider world, Donald Trump has set the global economy on fire on purpose.
I facetiously remarked, I think at some point after Trump was elected and that obviously only ever going to be temporary ceasefire was announced, saying that, I guess he was the lesser evil president after all. We all obviously knew where it was going to go eventually. Yeah. But at least we got that reprieve for a month. But the fact is, I didn't expect him to attempt to put the world's biggest hang-on to the head of the United States and squeeze the fucking trigger this quickly, this fast, this stupidly. So if he does actually cut the balls off the US empire and absolutely destroys its ability to enforce its will across the world, then he really might end up being the greatest American president of all time.
It is kind of beautiful to see, to be fair.
I just every day I have this big, beautiful grin on my face when I see another headline about just the fucking stocks cratering, the bond market is in fucking everything, just like just areas in tatters. And I hope it keeps going, and I hope it gets worse.
Yeah, I
know he's put a pause on now, apart from China, but I need it to burn. I need this all to burn.
Yeah, and I think that would be wonderful, but also, it does also have sweeping implications for the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, it's not
especially if he tariffs fucking pharmaceuticals. I mean, I'll probably just die.
Yeah,
there goes. But half of my medications I just couldn't get because fucking Pfizer just couldn't be arsed making them. So, I mean, if there's any kind of financial disincentive to them making them, that's probably me done. But, maybe I deserve it. Trump has been doing this little forced, conscious and deliberate provoking of a global depression as some kind of negotiating tactic. He's been banging on about this since 1970s, 1980s, maybe. Trump basically thinks that if trade between two nations is not completely one for one equal, then he's being scammed. He personally is being scammed. He used to talk about Japan a lot, flooding America with shite and not reciprocally selling American goods or having American goods in their market to the same degree. Now, the world's changed a little bit. He's banging on about China. And ultimately, although he has paused now for 90 days, I think, the rest of the world's tariffs, or he's put a 10% tariff on the rest of the world, sans China, and maybe, some of those countries that are facilitating what he believes to be China's circumventing tariffs, Vietnam, whatever. But regardless, it's the tariffs on China. I think the disastrous part is effectively just ended trade between the US and China. It's been widely reported that in his first term, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, went on Amazon and searched the first fucking book he could find about economic protectionism, hired that guy. He's called Peter Navarro, and he's an absolute fucking crackhead. And he's in charge of all fucking economic decisions, seemingly, in America right now. He has written a million different books, where in each of them he's just massively xenophobic. He talks about Chinese people in like, I don't know, it's like racism from the fucking 1800s. But he attributes it to a character in the books, an economist, I think, an accomplished individual regardless, called Ron Vara. But that's just an anagram of his name. And he's since admitted that. And somehow he's just fine. I do believe he went to prison for refusing a congressional subpoena, maybe, for 4 months or something. Because he was involved in the first Trump administration in some bullshit to do with fucking, I don't know, January 6th, some shite like that. And he is off his fucking head. He was saying yesterday that it is the greatest day in US economic history. I guess the plan is just brinkmanship. And hitherto, all of the gripers were saying that it is the true art of the deal. That he had done all this, the economy had collapsed, and that was genius. And then when he walked it back, that was also genius. So there is a subsection.
Rinse and repeat 3 more times.
There is a subsection, I guess, of probably about half of America who Donald Trump can literally do anything, and they will consider it to be shrewd venture capitalism in the name of the American population.
Yeah, it is kind of trite, cliche to say, but it is genuinely a cult at this point, just a religious cult, like the dying throes of this empire, and it's just half of its people are in a fucking frenzy, completely delusional. Sorry, the first administration was still like a genuine freak show. Like you got some real fucking great characters in there. Yeah. But this one's like something else. Like genuinely the most like disturbed, psychotic, mentally ill, like alcoholic, drug addicted, psychopaths and many just pure fucking crackhead shit in every single vital position, which again is incredible. It rules.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Trump is just continually citing his mandate. He says, I've got a mandate to do this. They voted for me to do this, blah, blah, blah. He kind of, I get the feeling that maybe he didn't believe in his heart of hearts that he would win. Him winning was the only way he didn't get just dogged forever. He wouldn't have gone to prison, but there would have just been endless fucking stress for him. And now he truly doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. I mean, today, did he not earlier today say that he hasn't even seen the stock market?
Yeah.
It's been like a week. It literally doesn't matter to him. When they were asking about him the other day, he got out that Trump golden trading card and said, 2 million, you can have this. He's selling trading cards. Presumably, I think it's some fucking Bitcoin thing. I don't fucking know. It's crypto bullshit.
It's a citizenship thing.
Yeah.
Pay $5 million, get that card. Become a citizen.
Is that what you get? Because I know he wants to sell the golden visas. Where
I think that's what it was supposed to be. Yeah, I know he planned on that.
The golden card had his face on it. Yeah, which is odd. During the election, they were always talking about Biden cites this as well as a reason he was not popular. Is that when Trump gave out the COVID relief stimulus checks, he signed them. Here's your money from Donald Trump, and Biden didn't. Biden, I guess, just couldn't be arsed. And he thinks that cost him big time, and I imagine it did. Trump is very good at personal branding. Maybe it's the only thing he's good at. Trump seems to think that if you make trade with other countries just completely cost prohibitive, then manufacturing just spawns in America overnight by default. Like the production of cars, luxury goods all just return to America immediately. Obviously, America has very little in the way of certain resources. There's that report going around that if they manufactured the iPhone in America solely, it'd cost over $30,000 per unit. So I somehow don't see...
Yeah, do they have the same sort of rare earth mineral material, metal, whatever the fuck, that China has access to? Or
America just...
various other fucking...
I mean, that's why they're pillaging half the world. That's why they're raiding and pillaging half the world. They need the natural resources, they need the minerals, so that they can make their little Mickey Mouse phones. I wonder at what point his base would start turning on him over this. How many treats can they be forbidden before they start getting angry? Because I seen some people on Twitter saying that they lost fucking $200,000 from the pension last week, and they're still saying, sir, I'm with you all the way. I guess it is the most fucking successful cult of all time. There's probably something to be said about QAnon obviously facilitating a lot of this detachment.
It laid the groundwork, I think. I mean, it's the thing with cults is that like once that the doomsday, end of the world thing, that day arrives and then nothing happens. Like the devotion to the cult only becomes stronger. Yeah. Like they have to double down. They have to commit even further to it. And I think that's what we're going to see here. And it is very funny, obviously, because they like specifically his base are, I think maybe the most like treat addicted pigs out of the lot. Past couple of years, they would get really upset when they didn't have like instant immediate access to anything as cheaply as possible. Like they fucking lose their shit. And like Americans will, like, if you consciously told them 1 billion people. We will make hell real, and we will send 1 billion souls to be tortured there for all eternity. If you can get a cheap consumer tat, they'd all press it in an instant without hesitation.
Absolutely.
But now, obviously, because they've committed to this so hard with every fiber of their being for years and years and years, this isn't this isn't 2015. They've dedicated their lives to this at this point. They can't just suddenly now admit that, this is very fucking stupid. This is going to fuck our lives up incredibly. We're going to be working in fucking sweatshops making our own $10,000 iPhones. And most of them will not be able to ever admit that, I think. They just can't.
Trump was saying in front of those coal miners that for the exact same wage, those coal miners would prefer to mine coal than work at a desk or assemble gadgets. How do you even get a view like that? I can't imagine there's a single coal miner in the world who enjoys that job, who gets anything out of it. It's just it's probably the least safe job you can get. There was an extract from, I think it was Bob Woodward's book, maybe, that he most recently made. Do you know, Dave?
Yeah, Bob Woodward, yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled it up now because it is.
I think it's Fear. I want to see exactly what he says. Basically, he's presented with information that shows that nobody wants to just do greatly, greatly demanding physical labor down a fucking mine or in a pit rather than just sit and send emails all day. All this data was presented to him and he just says, I don't believe it. And he said, why do you believe the things that you do? He says, I just do. I've thought this for 30 years.
The entire thing is genuinely fun because it's just laid out so bad to him. Each month, Porn brought Trump the latest job openings and labour turnover survey called JOLTS, conducted by the Bureau of Labour Statistics. He realised he was being an arsehole by rubbing it in each month, but he didn't care. Mr. President, can I show you this? Corn found out the pages of data in front of the president. See, the biggest levers of jobs, people leaving voluntarily, was from manufacturing. I don't get it, Trump said. Cohen tried to explain. I can sit in a nice office with air conditioning and a desk or stand on my feet 8 hours a day. Which one would you do for the same pay? He added, people don't want to stand in front of a 2,000-degree blast furnace. People don't want to go into coal mines and get black lung. For the same dollars or equal dollars, they're going to choose something else. Trump wasn't buying it. Several times, Cohen just asked the president, why do you have these views? I just do, Trump replied. I've had these views for 30 years. I think he's always been quite eccentric and mentally ill, and the older he's gotten,
and he is also very, very stupid. Very, very stupid.
Yeah. I've always believed he's got a base animal cunning that he can tap into, but he is genuinely quite a stupid person, and he has very weird views that I think regular people. I don't think he sees them as human beings in the sense that he's I think he is probably solipsist in the sense that he's the protagonist of reality. So he just views working class people as just sort of with this cartoon idea that it's of course they love breaking rocks into smaller rocks. Of course they love melting steel in a fucking furnace and getting fucking all kinds of wonderful cancers and terminal illnesses from the fucking poisons in a factory or in a fucking cave mining for coal. It's he thinks of them as cartoon people.
Yeah, I mean, he has this it's a very strange view of the world. He famously tweeted that other people paint beautiful paintings or write beautiful poetry. I like making deals, big deals. That's how I get my kicks. I think it's reflective of how he views people, their relationship to their job. He thinks that his job is making deals, and he loves that. That is his life's calling. So if you're a coal miner, you're doing that because you love that, and coal mining is your life's calling. Rather than go on.
Like you said, he's got a very binary view of the world. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
And because the manufacturing jobs have gone, and because there's a trade deficit, America's losing and China's winning.
Yeah.
And in the paragraph that Cohen quote comes from, there's another one where it says to Trump, our trade deficit goes down because our economy is contracting. If you want our trade deficit to go down, we can make that happen. Let's just blow up the economy. And it's did he take that literally? Because using AI to determine those tariffs in the way they did is a perfect way to destroy the economy.
I mean, that equation that they're showing is absurd. And I mean, all of the people who advise Trump are very, very stupid. And I don't understand how he gauges the intelligence of people, because he seems to think that certain people are fucking foxes, cunning, geniuses. And they're thick as pig shit. Peter Navarro is thick as pig shit. Everyone thinks he's thick as pig shit. Elon Musk is mad at him now, obviously, because they're having a little tit for tat over Tesla manufacturing. But Peter Navarro is out there saying this is the art of the reciprocal trade deal. This is, as he said, People who are upset about it are nervous Nellies, he said. Trump wiped half of the European Union's entire GDP from the stock market. He literally just burnt trillions upon trillions of dollars. I assume that the pause will recuperate somewhat, but it won't get to where it was before. And with the remaining tariffs on China, it will continue to collapse. Garbled communications yesterday where some of them were saying that this was deliberate, that since Sunday, Trump has known that he was going to pause them, that he was just driving a hard deal, and that it has exposed countries like China as bad trading partners because they responded. Scott Bessent, I think, the Treasury Secretary, said, don't retaliate and you will be rewarded. And Trump has had this in his messaging for weeks now. I guess it kind of explains Starmer's response to it. They have since paused on all of the countries that didn't retaliate. I think if you didn't retaliate, you have basically just signaled to a madman that you are willing to just fold, is what's happened. And that was sort of Starmer's plan. We got a flat 10%. We got 25% on steel, I think. And Starmer said he wouldn't back a Buy British campaign. He effectively has no response. He won't tariff back. And I believe he was briefing the cabinet saying that all previous assumptions about their policy platform, about their economic policy, should be discarded, which, it's what we've been saying. He has completely yielded to Trump. We are just a vassal state now.
Yeah.
He's talking about setting up a fucking British Doge.
Oh, I think this probably, we couldn't have picked a better moment in history to have the stupidest, most spineless, bloodless Prime Minister, maybe in all of British history.
I mean, it's
genuinely maybe
it's
like this
humiliating.
thick as pig shit, gets it wrong every fucking time, and is willing to fold to anyone at the slightest pressure.
I don't know how. Like, I'm just some random fucking cunt, and everyone can see that Trump sort of likes it when people stand up to him. He likes Scheinbaum.
I mean, he's just flattered Claudia Scheinbaum again.
Yeah, he was just complimenting fucking Gretchen Whitmer in person. These are people who are ideologically at odds with him, at least ostensibly. Very clearly, he respects them more than he does this cowardly little fucking worm, Starmer. You can see the disdain in his face when he talks to him.
Yeah, the contempt.
And because it's embarrassing if you're around someone who's just going, oh, yeah, I like that too. Oh, that's good. Thanks for the tariffs. Oh, thank you, Mr. President Trump. We deserve this. He's getting what he wants, but he also just thinks, what a fucking nasty cunt.
You can't respect that.
And things, they're moving very, very fast, obviously. I think if the tariffs remain on China, it'll collapse tens of thousands of US small businesses. You can see it on Reddit. Before the tariffs got to over 100%, the first round, there were people on Reddit the next day saying that they were importing for their business, and they were being asked, they were importing something like fucking $3,000 worth of steel, and they were being asked to pay $3,500 import levy, or they'll just send it back. And that's immediate. And if that many businesses collapse, all those businesses have, loans that they'll default on. I think it would have a massive, it would ricochet around, and it would just be a cascading disaster, just endlessly. And obviously that would extend to other countries. But this has also required certainly the EU and other countries to rethink their trading relationship with China. I think over the last 2 years-ish, the EU has had a very strange approach to China. Macron thinks that he's best friends with Xi Jinping. When they went to China, the European leaders, Macron was just sucking off Xi, and Ursula von der Leyen was just scolding him. I don't even think Ursula von der Leyen necessarily even got to meet him, but she was in the press talking about fucking Uyghurs constantly.
She's a demon.
And they have, presumably at the behest of the US, had tariffs on Chinese goods, cars, whatever, and they are now discussing completely abolishing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in the EU, which I'm not an economist. I think that would probably be a disaster for Tesla specifically if suddenly Chinese cars, specifically Chinese electric vehicles, were competitive price-wise in the West. And I would love to see that personally.
There was a good argument pre-election that, like, genuinely one of the worst things easily of a Trump administration would be Elon having his hands on the levers of power, and even just having to see his ugly, dumb, bun face and his hideous fucking frog-fish lips. Grotesque-looking man. Awful. I was wondering how much it would hurt him if he did lose. Like, what, like, now that he's like, Twitter didn't get his president elected, he's kind of like tries to be this kingmaker and it completely failed, and how that would have blown up in his face.
Elon would have been fucked.
But what we might get now is potentially, you know, if Tesla continues, its stocks continues to fucking crater and collapse, and it becomes prohibitively expensive to make the cars and sell them, on top of everything else that he's going through, we might, if we're lucky, get him to stream, you know, another video game, and with a bit more prodding from the listeners and the audience, he might kill himself live on air in front of everyone.
I think it's eminently possible that he could just kill himself. I mean, I think someone will maybe try kill him. Maybe they'll let someone kill him. But I also think him killing himself. There was a report last year that after he got booed, I think he came out at a Dave Chappelle show, that he locked himself in an office. I think at Tesla. Maybe it was at X, but he locked himself in an office, and that all of his colleagues were under the assumption that he was self-harming. Which is an insane thing to do if you have that much money. Just fucking chill out. But he obviously takes it very personally, and clearly he's on the downward turn in the Trump administration. They are going to get rid of him, if not just because Elon needs to go do his job at Tesla. He's just destroying all his companies at the same time. Trump hadn't have won, I assume that Elon would have been dogged by endless legal challenges, legal issues. I mean, he was doing a lot of the legal stuff during the elections, funding-wise. And obviously the Democrats had a good reason to hate him. Starmer also hates him, but he's not going to fucking do anything here to any of those companies because, you know, he loves him now, I guess, he's going to say. As for the tariffs, what happens? Fuck knows. I presume that they've paused it because it's going to mitigate, or they're trying to mitigate some of the damage. I believe that Trump said, what's his fucking name? The head of JP Morgan.
Jamie Dimon.
Dimon, yeah. Trump said verbatim yesterday that Jamie Dimon told him to stop. So then JP Morgan calls him up, says, don't do this, and Trump just says, okay.
The big dog put the call in.
The whole point of it is to bring manufacturing jobs back, because, you know, he's obsessed with the 50s, like this idealized world where a man could go to work in a factory for 8 hours and come home to his wife and 2 kids in a house that's paid off. I mean, it's the time that existed, but like it existed for very few people, and like 30 years at most after World War II.
For the white middle class.
Yeah. Mm. And the issue is you're not going to get that in America, because you're not going to get the same kind of support in America that you get in China, because the entire system is opposed to the sort of industrial policy that could make something like that happen. You know, the chip plant in Arizona, they announced that in 2020, starting production on it this year, building chips there. They won't start making advanced chips there until 2027, 2028. And they can't find the workers to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
If they can't even get one chip plant up and running, how are they going to reshore an entire, you know, car manufacturing industry? It's just not going to happen.
That plant it's just funded by Japanese capital. That's the difference. Is China have the economic setup and the infrastructure for the state to be able to intervene, fund things, do things quickly by nature. If you're negotiating for some fucking Japanese bankers to fund the creation of this new fucking chip plant, then you are at their behest. And also, if you are just wrecking the world economy at the same time, does that not potentially destabilize that kind of deal? I don't know.
Yeah, so he's also obviously obsessed with President McKinley in the 1890s. And referring to McKinley, Trump said, under his leadership, the United States enjoyed rapid economic growth and prosperity. McKinley championed tariffs to protect US manufacturing, boost domestic production, and drive industrialization. But that, of course, that happened because it's the 19th century. The entire world, well, the developing world, was industrializing at that point. America is not a developing power anymore. It doesn't need tariffs to protect its developing industry from competitors. Its industrial sector is declining. Its portion of world trade is declining. You know, it's not small, but it's declining. And if it decided to cut off all goods imports, if it went, you know, full throttle, no imports, 70 of its trading partners could make up for that in a year, and 115 of them would make up for it in 5 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, you know, they're obviously not an irrelevant player in the global marketplace, but they're dwindling. They don't.
Yeah.
We don't need them as much as we needed them before.
If you put up over, what is it, 125% fucking tariff on China or whatever, is that not just effectively just ending trade? Because they're not going to spend that money.
Well, China exports about $510 billion worth of goods to America, from what I've read. And I saw that if they placed a 54% tariff on imports from China, it would result in a drop of $507 billion out of 510. So I just don't see how over doubling the amount you'd have to pay to import something, like you said, doesn't just completely eradicate imports from them.
They're all the maggots talking about the effect that it's having on the Chinese stock market. It's also doing that and worse to you at the same time. You are stabbing someone with a knife that you are also just plunging into your own stomach. It is just economic self-harm, but I suppose it's how justifiable is spite as a motivator, I guess.
Well, like you said, you know, Cohn told him if he wants the deficit to go down, which he does, this is how to go about it.
You can see the way that people tell him things because he regurgitates it in a very odd way when he's talking about McKinley and after the fact, Teddy Roosevelt inheriting a great economy because of tariffs. He likes to talk about the US government being funded exclusively by tariffs when they didn't have income tax. And he says they had to set up a tariff commission. They had to set up a tariff commission just to know what to do with all the money they were getting. And it's like how a child views the world. Like if the government is funded by tariffs, then of course there has to be a commission. It has no bearing on how much money they're making. It's not because they're making wonderful amounts of money and there's so much they literally don't know how to spend it. It's because if they didn't, then there wouldn't be a government. I haven't read any of Peter Navarro's books. I assume it's full of dog shit like that. I think Trump, as all politicians, is beholden to myriad financial interests. So ultimately, whatever he decides to do, indeed the pause yesterday is decided by Jamie Dimon, will be decided by a very senior banking figure who will tell him, you know, now's up. Because alternatively, they would just kill him. Or, you know, he is the most easily killable president in the world.
Of all time.
This fat, senile, old, dying man. His face looks like it's falling off. Like, if Trump died of a heart attack, yes, obviously, loads of Americans would think that it was some kind of conspiracy. But this guy...
He's the most heart-attackable man that has ever lived.
Yeah, he is. He is the apex heart attack.
The fact that he hasn't is genuinely baffling.
You don't need the shellfish toxin.
This is where we see if the American deep state, as we understand it, still exists in any capacity.
Yeah.
He has to create the global economy and walk away from that, then it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore, and it might not have existed for a long time.
You have to wonder, because a lot of this insanity in America, the consent has been manufactured by these fringe, insane, vanguard ideologies like QAnon. And Trump's current head of the FBI, Kash Patel, big fucking QAnon guy, but obviously he doesn't believe it. Kash Patel used to work at quite senior in Truth Social when Trump launched that. Kash Patel, I do believe, personally set up an official Q account on there. So he's aware, like, this guy's the head of the FBI.
It's the funniest possible guy.
Obviously, he's just creating some late QAnon bullshit. It's not the fucking nerd that was on 4chan. They are aware of this dark magic that is going on, and they are wielding it. And that man is now the head of the fucking FBI. So presumably, it's something that they do think about is how to make these fucking morons even stupider and rabbider and more angry and more spiritually, ideologically bound to every single Trump policy. Because they're defending the tariffs like it's, I don't know, some real... It's not a real right-wing stalwart issues. The American right-wing love to talk about deportations. They love to talk about immigration. But these people don't know what fucking tariffs are. There's no fucking way they know what tariffs are. There's absolutely no way. But they are defending it as if Donald Trump himself invented the concept of tariffs. And it is like fucking Jonestown. A lot of these people will die.
Hopefully.
I mean, have you ever heard of med beds? There's a big thing on the American right where they believe that there is a secret invention, a sort of sunbed looking device where you lie in it and it cures you of all illness, of cancer and whatever. This is a big QAnon thing. And it's big on the American right. I've seen a lot of fucking people talking about it recently. You see these people talking about, I've seen someone talking about having lost X amount of money, being in a precarious health, having XYZ ailments. And in sincerity, I saw some Trump voters responding saying, it's all right, looks bad now, but Trump will release the med bed soon. Like these people live in a complete fantasy land.
Typical reactionary, like right-wing American, genuinely believes the big empty from New Vegas is real. Like everything in there is real. All of the technology in there is real. They're just waiting for the right time to release it. Once the storm comes, once the sickos and pedos and the deep state communists have been dealt with, then they can get the fucking cyber dogs and the med beds.
It's kind of fucking miserable, especially when it's like there's a lot of like older fucking pensioner women.
Yeah,
who are like literally just dying of cancer, but in some abstract way, out of devotion to Donald Trump. It's just deeply, deeply morbid. He's incredibly senile.
Grim. It's
all his advisors
genuine death bullshit.
All his advisors are just crackhead sex offenders. Some of them are the nerdier, like Hitlerite right wing, but they're mostly just fucking perverts. He speaks, and he's talking like fucking Thatcher as well. He's saying the America has undergone an intensive surgery, but the patient is well, and patient needs to take its medicine now, but it will be stronger than ever. And this is an analogy that Thatcher loved to use, that she was the nurse not the nurse who was saying, yes, take all this medicine and you'll feel no pain at all. She's the one who is saying, you need to get up now, even though you've got a fucking bullet wound in your chest, and you need to get down mines because it'll make you stronger and it'll make you richer. People did, to some degree, like that under Thatcher. Thatcher was obviously very popular at the time. She won God knows how many elections, 3. She won the youth vote as well, Thatcher. Perhaps it doesn't resonate in the modern world quite as well, especially when
40 years later, yeah.
2008. Since 2008, it has just been economic misery for the vast majority of people. I know a lot of people got made redundant, sacked, laid off in 2008, but after that, things didn't particularly improve too much. Things have still been shit here, certainly in fucking America, certainly all over Europe since effectively 2010. Every fucking public service doesn't work in this country. You can perhaps delude people into agreeing with that if there is a wide understanding that you are in a relatively secure financial environment. Like what Dave was talking about in the fucking 10, 15 years after World War II, the white middle class in America, they had this nice idyllic little fucking Don Draper life where the wife didn't have to work, man didn't have to work that much, and they had a gorgeous house and a garden and children, and they were fine. If you pitch to people living under that perhaps there are some people who are living beyond their means and perhaps leeching, and maybe there needs to be some very bitter medicine that is swallowed. I could see people falling for that. The fact that people fall for it today, like my entire fucking life, economically, has been a disaster, basically. It's just been complete shit.
Yeah, nobody's doing well. It doesn't. You can't sell the same thing twice anymore. I think a big part of I know it's in the name. It's in their fucking blood. But the reactionary right wing obsession with just they obviously don't have a material view of history, but it seems like there's a psychological barrier, mental block in their head where they genuinely don't understand that for a myriad of concrete, real reasons, that 2025 is not the same world as 1940, that it's not the same world as 1890, that things have changed, that there's different economic structures that the entire world is now beholden to. It's completely different industrial capacity, development, all of that. They genuinely don't understand that. And they just think we can flick a switch and we'll go back to that. We can just go back to a protectionist economy. And instead of reducing this trade deficit over decades, we can do it overnight with no prep. Even though we don't have the industrial base, we don't have the manufacturing base. Like China has all of these fucking state-run enterprises that do very, very well, and that they can control directly.
Well, China were knocking up hospitals in a week. You know,
literally, yeah, it was insane. Like watching that happen so fast.
The Nightingale hospitals or whatever here, it's just like some fucking gazebo, and it cost £1 bajillion, and they still couldn't get it working. They still couldn't get it up. If you don't have the type of economic setup that China has, then all of this is for naught. There's nothing you can do because the factories don't spawn. It doesn't just return immediately. There's a complete other side that ideologically they are unable to access because it circumvents their vehement and deathly belief in free market capitalism. And it's sort of, you can see this model being trialed all over Europe. Austerity here, fuck me. We've been in austerity in this country for 15 years. But I'm thinking Milei in Argentina, where you see the 70-year-olds in the street crying because their pension's been cancelled. Like, he is blowing up his economy for purely ideological reasons, and there still is a nice chunk of Argentina that support that. I don't believe he is massively popular, but you will still always have people, and specifically people who are greatly affected by it, who will support it precisely until the moment that their life becomes utter dog shit. And I think that is a phenomenon all around the world. But
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Starmer starts completely emulating every single fiscal policy of Trump just to fucking schmooze. I don't know.
I feel like he'd be a great, like Sam would be a great candidate for like a world leader that would become severely mentally ill from the pressures and stresses of everything.
Yeah,
I want him to be like an Adam Susan type figure where he's just like
love him to get schizophrenia or something, and they'd have to cover it up. It'd be so good. I mean, you can see that cognitively his mental state is also declining. He looks depressed. He looks clinically depressed. Trump also looks depressed and very grey. But Starmer,
wait, talk about like a global depression. I want it to be like an actual like chronic clinical emotional depression as well. I want to see like Starmer coming out to do a conference and he's just in a t-shirt and there's like visible like self-harm marks. Yes. Yes.
I'd love it. I'd love it if Starmer started self-harming. If Starmer was just fucking cutting his wrists every night or like fucking, I don't know, digging his nails into his arms, I'd love that. He's clearly miserable. I just wish he would try and seek some way to resolve that that involves taking a blade to his skin.
You know what? There's a silver lining in life that I think we should all, including our beautiful listeners, take to our hearts. Is that the bad guys have won completely and totally for now, for the foreseeable future. Evil conquers all, and we're the victims of it. But they're so fucking miserable, in a profound way, and that is hilarious. You should laugh about that every single day.
Is that like whenever I see Starmer getting accosted in public, or like that video where they're chasing after him and there's all those fucking people going, "Mr. Starmer, are you a Freemason, Mr. Starmer? Why did you go after Julian Assange, Mr. Starmer? What about Jimmy Savile, Mr. Starmer?" He's just absolutely stony-faced, miserable. You can tell that he thinks about it in bed. He's stirring, he's tossing and turning. Clearly they have to fucking prescribe him drugs to get him to sleep. I mean, that's probably the difference between Biden's senility and Trump's senility. When Trump's personal doctor, I believe Obama's personal doctor as well, the physician Ronnie Jackson, I think he's in the House of Representatives now as a Republican. When he was there, you can see that he was just constantly fucking prescribing shitloads of modafinil, shitloads of fucking opiates, shitloads of fucking uppers, downers, nonstop. And Trump, famously for many decades, has had a Sudafed addiction. I think it's in the picture where he's got a...
Yes, I know the one you mean.
I don't know what it's called. A burrito. He's eating some...
Is that the one where he says, like, I love
Hispanics? In the background, you can see a drawer open and it's just got box after box of Sudafed. So on top of whatever they're giving him, he's probably just fucking wired most of the time. Sometimes when they put him on the downers, I don't know if he has dentures or not, but he starts talking like this. It's like his teeth are falling out. I love that. Whereas Biden, I don't know what the fuck. Sometimes he would be going mental, shouting.
I mean, like random fits of rage is a classic Alzheimer's.
But a lot of the time, Biden was just,
Completely gone. I think Biden was obviously like, I mean, Ronnie Reagan, Alzheimer's, second
is Biden
term.
alive? When was the last time I saw Joe Biden?
He actually just crumbled into dust. He's technically missing in action, but he disappeared. He snapped out of existence. He's just fucking gone. But he's as smart or stupid as any like typical classic 20th century American politician was. The defining thing of his presidency was that he was completely demented, Alzheimer's addled, and he's surrounded by a cadre of like particularly stupid, I think, cynical, opportunist psychopaths. And the thing with Trump is that, he's obviously going senile and much more because he's always been kind of like in the center.
You never saw Biden when you're talking about Trump in the tuxedo the other night. He did a 2.5-hour speech.
Yeah, he can still do that.
He's wired or not, he can still speak. Biden literally couldn't finish a sentence.
He's slipping into some kind of senility and dementia, and he's genuinely getting more mentally ill. But he's the defining thing with him isn't that; it's the fact that he is genuinely fucking stupid, like really stupid, profoundly stupid, and surrounded by the most moronic cretins to ever walk the earth.
Yeah,
it rules. I love it so much.
It is kind of beautiful. Trump is really the great destroyer. He is like all American hubris packaged into one man. Yeah, very much so.
I can't wait to abuse like the privileged few Americans that still have an iPhone that have to clock in at the dick sucking factory from 6 till in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, just like making my fucking consumer goods. Oink oink, little pigs. How does it fucking feel now?
The Americans were very angry at you last week for saying something like this.
A few.
One of them doing a feet podcast.
Well, I can't really disagree with that, but they can't handle having a mirror reflected back at them.
They all just love saying, coming from a British person. It's like every single fucking British person is a complete moron thinks that this country should be nuked. Yeah, Americans have this sort of, even if they are left wing or anti-imperialist or whatever, it's like they just roll into it. It's second nature. There is a jingoism, a patriotism in the soul.
It's a reflex.
There is a innate second nature patriotism to Americans that I don't think necessarily exists in other countries. It's certainly not ones.
No, it doesn't really exist anywhere else.
Americans have the kind of patriotism where it's like they have been subject to imperialism.
Yeah.
When they haven't been subject to anything of the sort for hundreds of years. They've been doing it all over the fucking world.
Like in their modern history, they've never had like a real fucking war with an outside, with a foreign power like coming in. They've not had their own fucking cities bombed. They're the most coddled and protected people in human history.
America hasn't really been bombed even by just some fucking nutter country.
Well, hopefully soon that will change.
Yeah, I guess they don't have the planes.
American nationalism is to an extent where it's like it is genuinely identical to the type that you'd see in fucking any fascist country, in Nazi Germany, Japan, Italy, anything like that. It is insane. So even like all the so-called most committed anti-imperialist American, the vast majority of them still are Yankee chauvinistic scum.
Yeah, it is very much like fucking Nazi Germany. Even like the iconography, they just worship these fucking symbols. Like
it's
very, very.
It is a level of religious indoctrination that you just don't really see almost anywhere else.
If the world exists in a few hundred years, they will look upon America now as just pretty much identically how we look at Nazi Germany and Nazi Germany.
The worst blight on human history. Like the level of destruction and suffering it's been able to inflict for a century at least, on a scale like Adolf Hitler himself have only ever dreamed of.
But it's not all bad, because a new Universal theme park is coming to Bedford in the UK. A wonderland of the Minions-themed Loop-de-Loop ride, Transformers Mega Base Decepticoaster, and an area entitled the Kung Fu Panda Land of Awesomeness. Keir Starmer describes this as transformative and his plan for change in action, Lisa Nandy says, from Wicked to Minions, Universal is behind some of the biggest blockbusters of recent years. Which is to say that Starmer's played a blinder here. For
an absolute fucking blinder.
Masterclass from an ordinary bloke doing an extraordinary job. Take a bow, sir, Keir. You've done us proud here. I can't wait, personally, for this country to just be flooded with all that fucking American bullshit. Obviously, I hate it. I loathe it. And, fuck off. Like, I don't want a fucking theme park in this country full of fucking American film crap. We should have a fucking Only Fools and Horses land.
Genuinely, where the fuck did they get that 50 billion boost, like pound boost to the economy thing from a fucking theme park? Like how like I think they were just given figures by Universal and just like took it at face value.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do it. They always constantly, this country spends tens, hundreds of millions of pounds on these projects that never come to fruition, like that fucking.
It's the thing we're best at.
Yeah, the garden thing. The bridge between Northern Ireland and Scotland, HS2, these kinds of things. The trains in this country are absolute dog shit. Like, behind, can you think of a fucking country with worse fucking railways? I can't. Maybe we should build that instead. Maybe Universal should build a nice Kung Fu Panda train.
It's not only is it just some of the worst fucking public transport anywhere. It's they are absolute fucking bastards when they like enforce, like, if you've missed a fine, if you've missed a ticket, missed a fine. You've got a story about that, haven't you?
Yeah, I've spoke to both of you about this before. When I was, I was at university and I was traveling between Liverpool and Bradford. And in Liverpool, there were a bunch of train stations, and I was at a skeleton station where there's no staff, and the machine wasn't working. So I got on the train, and for 5 minutes, and I got off at the main Liverpool train station, and the police pulled me immediately and asked for my ID. And I gave them it, and they wrote it down, and I never heard from them. And then sometime later, I returned to Bradford and found that at an address I wasn't living at, they had sent a shitload of letters that ultimately had rolled into a county court judgment. I had bailiffs turning up at my house non-stop. And from what would have been a £3 ticket, they had sold the debt on to debt enforcement and to bailiffs and to blah, blah, blah. I was getting all these lawyers' letters. Ultimately, from my unemployment benefit, I had £3,000 reduced. Automatically every month, they took out a fucking shitload of money. I was absolutely fucking desolately poor. Because I didn't buy a £3 train ticket.
A £3 ticket.
And it cost me £3,000. And how often does that happen? It must happen all the fucking time.
To countless people, it's probably genuinely how they make a huge amount of their money.
To anyone who's listening to this, if you're poor and the bailiffs come to your house, don't answer, don't let them in. They only get, the bailiffs individually only really get paid for the first call out. They won't return. The same bailiff won't return. Same bailiff company. Tell them to go fuck themselves. If you have anything like this, if there's any issue like that, go to Citizens Advice and cry your eyes out, and they'll sort it, right? But don't fucking pay them a penny. All of these debt collection agencies, it's like in this country, after my dad died, my dad had fucking terrible personal finances. After he died, all the debt collection agencies came after my mum, demanding that she pay thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pounds for his debt. That's not how that works. She was not legally required to. She did pay it because she was grieving. She was sad. She didn't understand what was going on. These debt collection bailiff enterprises, they deliberately target people who are in disarray, who are miserable, who have had great trauma, tragedy upon them, because they'll fold. And they do fold. My mum folded. I had to pay that fucking train ticket fine. It's grotesque. But specifically, this is a directive from Eyup Lovely. If anyone ever comes to your house, bailiff, otherwise, if you ever get a letter from a debt collection agency, try and find a contactable number, call them, and tell them to fuck off. Don't give them a penny. These people are scum, vermin. You should knock them out. And that goes for TV licensing. TV license fucking comes round. You tell them, I'm withdrawing your access from my house right now. I'm feeling threatened, stressed, alarmed. Right? If you don't go away, I'm going to start hurting myself. Right? and they'll never bother you again. I promise you that. You don't have to fucking pay to watch telly. Fuck you.
I'd like to add as well that obviously I think we can agree unanimously that if you like this industry, the debt collection, bailiffs, anything like that, if you work in that, it's genuinely evil. It is vulture-like. It is parasitic, blood-sucking vampirism.
If you're a bailiff, you should be tortured to death. You should have your head
genuinely,
chopped off.
You like
you should have all your guts pulled out. You're a piece of shit, is what you are.
He's
and all
subhuman
of them
psychopath.
They're all just fucking dressed up like these fucking RoboCops for some reason. They all think that they have fucking some kind of what authority do you have? Why are you allowed to come into my house and ask me if I've got a fucking DVD player? Fuck you. You don't need to know fuck all about my house.
Genuinely from my heart is if you do work in any kind of like debt collection, you're a bailiff, anything like that.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself. You might feel in the back of your mind, in your heart, some guilt, some feeling that like completely not only just wasted your life as a human being, any potential you might have had, but you're actively making the world a worse place for no good cause, for just no long-term good result. So whatever it takes, hang yourself, stab yourself through the heart, gouge your own eyes out.
Yeah. I've known people who were in terrible financial circumstances and they took jobs at the fucking job centre, DWP, things like that. I think there is great moral questions around that. Some of these people that I know have done that and just, to justify it to themselves, they just fucking approve every single fucking, advance, every single benefit. I'm sure that morally does balance things out. But
I'd say if you can...
If you are a debt collector...
Make life a lot easier for these people.
If you are a bailiff, if you are a debt collector, you might as well just be, shepherding people into gas chambers. You are literally satanic Nazi scum. And I hope every single one of you gets...
the official Scroungers position.
Because you are merchants of misery. Yeah. I mean, maybe we will have to put some bleeps over that so that we don't get this removed.
No, it was satire. We understand how this works.
Is satire. Yeah, we're taking the Mickey Mouse.
We're taking the piss. Like Peter Sutcliffe.
Yeah, well, maybe he wasn't.
What Ethan doesn't know is that I don't only follow Eyup Lovely. I am Eyup Lovely. I am Eyup Lovely. Oh, it's me, Eyup Lovely. Hello, I've been posting. Yeah, the reason why you can't dox me is because I've been in broad daylight and public all along. Hello, mate.
But before we go on to all of the succession of nonsense we'll be discussing shortly, it's important that we spend a decent amount of time discussing the blockbuster event of the week, which is Owen Jones's attendance at Buttmitzvah. Now, Buttmitzvah is Britain's first Jewish queer event. You search it on Google, you'll see a lot of fucking people draped in Israeli flags, whatever else. And while Owen Jones was there, he got accosted by Zionists in attendance for being insufficiently rabid in his Zionism. Yeah. Some of the worst people were in attendance. Some of the most revolting Nazi people. Hen Mazig. It's like a Scottish person getting a sig knocked out of their hand.
Brilliant.
Hen Mazig, who is an Israeli man. It's like he's possessed by the ghost of Hitler.
Yeah.
He was talking about it. I believe he was there. And once the event was done, they all started posting videos of it on Twitter, whatever, of Owen Jones being accosted. Owen Jones just kicked the fuck off. He started saying it's not a Zionist event, it's a non-political event, and anyone criticising him for attending is a Hamas militant.
And an anti-Semite.
Owen Jones's attendance at Buttmitzvah was immediately written up in the Jewish Chronicle headline. Could a Buttmitzvah boogie with Owen Jones solve the culture wars? Owen Jones bought me a Jaeger bomb on Saturday. Yes, you read that correctly. For JC readers not up to date with Jewish queer London social calendar, Saturday was Buttmitzvah, the glittering jewel in the nightlife crown for Jewish, goy, gay, and straight revelers alike. The London-based Simcha Meets Sweatbox was dreamt up by Josh Cole, has been doing the rounds since 2016. Saturday's event was only the second Simcha since the horrors of October 7th, which made its joyful defiance all more powerful. So it was curious that Guardian journalist Owen Jones chose to join the party. He strolled in with a Jewish friend, had a dance, bought around, and seemed, dare I say it, happy to be there. Some of my WhatsApp groups exploded with indignation that a man who has spent 18 months tweeting relentlessly against Israel should show up in our space. The chutzpah. Admittedly, Admittedly, Jewish pride can feel like a political act these days, but it shouldn't. We should be able to dance, and it's a mark of strength that we can dance with Owen.
Free will dancing? Fucking hell! What is it with the dancing?
But how remarkable it is that Owen can step into a Jewish space, dance to Israeli music, and down shots with us.
Yeah.
Imagine if more of that spirit made it online. Hen Mazig pointed out that he would likely not be welcome at a Queers for Palestine party. He's probably right. Later, mid-dance to Have a Nagila, or was it Chapel Rome? I asked Owen if he'd ever partied in Tel Aviv. He hadn't. I hope he does. Shots on me. Owen Jones is constitutionally unable to tell the truth about anything.
No.
So he was flipping out for fucking 2 days straight. It's still today, even, that people were saying it's a Zionist event full of fucking pro-Israel nutters. They were shouting at him while he was there, "You're not welcome here." And Hen Mazig, the insane Israeli journalist wanker, said, Owen Jones spent the last 18 months spreading non-stop libel about Jews. Then he has the gall to show up to a gay Jewish party in London, dancing to Israeli music at a gay Jewish party, trying to get with an Israeli man, and then coming back online and posting a picture of a dead Palestinian baby. This anti-Israel Guardian journalist, who is accused of spreading anti-Semitism, went to a gay Jewish party and danced with Israeli men to Israeli music. Owen Jones immediately started fucking with his just this smug sneering. So this is unhinged. A little aside, please, any listeners, search on Twitter from Owen Jones Journo. What? This is wild. And then sort by latest, and just look how many times he says this.
Oh my god!
Yes, this man's he's paid to write. Does he not know any other fucking expressions? Anyway,
I mean, that is wild.
he says, so this is unhinged. I went to Buttmitzvah, a Jewish queer night with my friends. My objection is to the Israeli state and its behavior, not to Jewish people. Buttmitzvah is not a Zionist party. Goodness fucking me. You are literally arguing for the boycott of any cultural Jewish event. Fucking wild. I have never gone to a gay Israel party, and I would never do this. They wouldn't turn away someone wearing an Israeli flag, but they wouldn't turn away someone wearing a Palestinian flag either. Have you ever been to a club in your life? You're all bad-faced trolls and very clearly and obviously anti-Semitic. But this has a steering committee run by people of varying politics, so it's not a political night. It is not a Zionist event. What the fuck are you talking about? Now let's just try and unpack this a little bit, okay? Buttmitzvah is this massive...
Great name.
this massive Zionist sex party in London. And Owen Jones denies whatsoever that it is remotely associated with Zionism or Israel. Jake Wallace-Simons, former editor of the Jewish Chronicle, says, Owen Jones attended a Zionist party this weekend. Nicole Lampert, a Jewish Chronicle journalist and Zionist, says, Owen Jones was a surprise guest at a proudly Zionist event. Talk about chutzpah. Owen Jones literally is saying that this is anti-Semitic. The people who founded Buttmitzvah, specifically, Josh Cole is one of the founders. He's the head of comedy at the BBC. He has said, Buttmitzvah is incredibly political. He has said, the Israeli influence on Buttmitzvah stems from a close familiarity with an unusual Israeli phenomenon, pride in Tel Aviv. There's a brilliant and sharp music scene in Israel. We would love to host Buttmitzvah in Israel one day. Our friends in Tel Aviv say we should come, and we would be happy to, since many of us travel every year to Pride in Israel. The other founder is an Israeli who moved from Israel to London in 2019. And the other founder is Matthew Waxman. He previously had written quite extensively about the British publication The Gay Times, saying that their silence on October 7th and legitimizing language around Hamas is deeply alarming. He says, as one of the founding members of Buttmitzvah, it's devastating to see an LGBTQ magazine show such disdain for Jewish lives, use reckless, inflammatory language, Calling Hamas a resistance movement in any form is horrifying, especially at a time when it's terrifying to be a Jew.
Has it ever not been a terrifying time to be a Jew? When do these people not fucking live in constant hysteric paranoid fear? And at this point, why should we care? I can think of another group of people that is actually terrifying to be right now, and it's not fucking Jews.
Yeah. And certainly not in fucking Britain. I'll just say, right, they call everyone a fucking anti-Semite. They call literally every single person an anti-Semite if you are critical of Israel. Or, I found in Britain, they call you anti-Semitic if you use the word Jew. And I'm not just calling people Jews. If you say that this person is a Jew, you are immediately categorized as an anti-Semite. They seem to think that the word Jew is a slur.
Well.
Owen Jones is literally saying that every single person who replies to him about this, every single person who takes any issue with it is an anti-Semite. Meanwhile, every single Jewish person, whether they are a Zionist or an anti-Zionist, is calling this a Zionist event. Because it is. It's a massive fucking Zionist shag fest.
Jones has pulled out of events for far less than this. He pulled out of a People's Assembly event because Eddie Dempsey would be there. He pulled out of a Palestine fundraiser because Roger Waters and Aaron Mate would be there. And then obviously he gets tons of replies from Zionists on these tweets. One of them said, you may not hate Jews, but we hate you. Another said, have you considered hosting your own queer night in Gaza? And so it's like, he wants to say this is non-political, but Judaism, it's fundamentally, at this point, it's a politicized religion. You know, upwards of 80% of Jews are Zionists. Yeah. That's a fact. You know, some of them even say it's 95%. And Zionism, at this point, kind of always has been a genocidal fascist movement.
Yeah.
But Jones can't admit the reality of what combining those 2 points mean.
Yeah.
And so he has to kind of go along with this whole, well, you can't conflate Judaism and Zionism. All sorts of political persuasions are at this event. And there might be true. There might be some left-wing people there, sure. No. But at the end of the day, they're still left-wing Zionists.
That's it. They believe themselves to be a radical strand of Zionism. Literally all of them call it a Zionist event. Website called IsraeliCool.com. Israel hater Owen Jones, who is gay and some might even say anti-Semitic, recently attended a queer Zionist party called Buttmitzvah. Naturally, he was piled on for his blatant hypocrisy by allies and enemies alike. Buttmitzvah profile in Israeli publication, I don't know how to say this, I'm going to pronounce it phonetically, Ynet, says that Buttmitzvah is a place where you can be safe from anti-Semitism, which has spiked around security conflicts involving Israel and Palestinians. That is one way to put it. In his brilliant book, Jews Don't Count, David Baddiel analyzes the discrimination of the Jewish community in the politically correct discourse and devotes a considerable part to the way criticism against Israel is mobilized to dwarf the problem of anti-Semitism. Buttmitzvah also touches on this tension. The resurgence of Israeli pop is well represented on the square, and Noah Kiril would have been welcomed at this party. I looked up who Noah Kiril is, and this is an Israeli singer, a lady who was in the IDF as recently as 2022. A quote from an attendee here saying, I certainly feel safer at Buttmitzvah than I do in a lot of queer spaces, especially since October 7th. Owen Jones, someone posted to him a picture of someone there literally dancing with an Israeli flag on them. He says, do you think any nightclub has a man on the door vetting political opinions? He literally says, are you all on crack? I'm going to say it. You're all thick, completely thick. Your argument would mean boycotting every single club in London. That's anti-Semitic. He's saying that the Jews run the clubs. He's just constantly fucking crashing out over this non-fucking stop. Owen Jones, the Goy King, trying everyone who suggests this is a political Zionist event as an anti-Semite, but also most Jews are saying that. He says he's been to Buttmitzvah 3 times, right? I think in 2022, Buttmitzvah was hosted at Miznon, which is a restaurant owned by the Israeli chef Eyal Shani. And Eyal Shani, after October 7th, shuttered all his restaurants in Israel so that he could provide over 5,000 meals a day to the Israeli Defense Forces on the front lines of the Holocaust. I mean, not to fucking mention, we skirted over it. En Mazig is saying that Owen Jones tried to sleep with an Israeli man there. Can't even boycott shagging them. It's fucking madness. And you go on the subreddit r/Jewish, There's also another subreddit called Jewdank. I would suggest everyone check that one out. That's where the Jews post their memes. It's very odd.
Yeah, Jewish Spaces on Reddit. I challenge any of our listeners to see how long they can browse for before they want to launch their fucking phone for a wall.
On the front page of r/Jewish, the top thread says, I just wanted to share a story about British Israel hater Owen Jones. Owen Jones has received tons of jokes on social media and a deluge of Israel haters denouncing him for going to a Zionist event. Jones is frantically responding with Buttmitzvah is not a Zionist party. Goodness fucking me. Claiming it's a non-political Jewish club night. I laughed and laughed and laughed, and when I told my partner, he laughed about it too. Top comment, he's failed to understand that at least 90% of British Jews would self-describe as Zionists, even the left-wing ones. Another comment, I'm genuinely worried that his appearance will compromise Buttmitzvah. It says, the wrong flavour of non-Jews might start turning up and compromise security.
Fucking hopefully.
And another comment says, not a Zionist party, eh? What was the date? It looks like the party was this past Saturday and the Parsha was, I don't know how to say all these fucking Hebrew words. They're saying that there was endless references to all of these Israeli cultural things. The King of Israel is one that they cite.
It was really funny in that Reddit comment as well, when this Jewish Zionist asks for a moment, maybe I'm being neurotic.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe for other reasons, about other things.
They're right though. And the thing with like Owen is that he's like years off the mark. Like we're at this point now, 16, 17 months into this fucking Holocaust. We no longer, we don't have to play by this like tiptoe around this thing of like, oh no, Judaism and Zionism are these completely separate entities and you can't conflate the two. And like that person says, like, yeah, 90% of British Jews would identify as Zionist. And that's something that has to be, again, acknowledged and dealt with.
There's a lot of data around this, right? And there is issues with the polling and the question. So if you ask people, are you a Zionist? If you ask the Jewish people, are you a Zionist? The proportion of people who would say yes is different to the proportion of people who say yes to, do you believe there should be a Jewish state in Palestine?
Yeah.
Which is obviously means the same thing. The wording matters, but consistently in the West, certainly in Britain.
No, definitely in Britain.
Yeah, definitely in Britain. It's at least over 70, 80%.
Yeah.
And if you mention this, you are called anti-Semitic. I guess traditionally, it is anti-Semitic to conflate specifically, explicitly, the actions of the state of Israel with international Jewry. Indeed, I reminded Owen Jones of this and he blocked me. It is not anti-Semitic to say that the vast majority of Jews are Zionists. It's reality, it's true. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a verifiable fact.
I think it's probably healthier if we ignore this insane strain of genocidal fascism that has completely permeated one of the world's major religions.
Yeah.
We can't acknowledge that. We just have to sweep it under the rug because it's a bit uncomfortable.
I know lots of anti-Zionist Jews on the internet, and I think some of them are the most rabidly anti-Israel people. I know, like Brian off Twitter, he has some very, very, quite acidic things to say about Israelis, about a lot of Jews, indeed. Obviously, aside from all of the fucking joking around, we are not actual fucking anti-Semites. The fact that you literally can't speak about Jewish people in any way, even if it is data-based, even if it is literal fact, even if it is not prejudicial in any way, even if it is not bigoted, you literally can't reference it, you can't talk about it without being called an anti-Semite. And it's not just by fucking Zionists saying this. There are a lot of fucking moron non-Jewish people, a lot of fucking moron non-Jewish people on the left who are so unbelievably giddy to accuse people of being anti-Semitic that is absurd. These people nominally hate Israel and everything that it stands for. You can't talk about the proportion of Western Jews that support that because that would be offensive to them. They would view that as anti-Semitic. They're not even saying that I think this is anti-Semitic. I am an authority and I denounce you as anti-Semitic. They're saying, I think that prospectively, Zionists would think you're anti-Semitic. Well, Zionists think everyone's anti-Semitic. Of course they do. It's their force field. The question I have about Owen Jones is, are all of those Jews that have said it's a Zionist party anti-Semitic? Because there's at least fucking a dozen Jewish journalists who have said it. Dozens, if not hundreds of comments on Reddit that say it. There's dozens, if not hundreds of Jews on Twitter saying it. There's dozens, if not hundreds of attendees who describe it as such.
The thing I wonder is, why is it bad? If Zionism, as they say, is just a call for Jewish homeland.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. It's not this evil ideology, it's just a call for Jewish homeland. Why is it so bad to conflate them? If that's all it is, why is it so bad? Because it's like deep down they know that it's a violent, horrible ideology.
Yeah.
And by conflating them, you're associating them with it.
Yeah. But this is the important thing that needs to be distinct is Israel is a Jewish supremacist project in every possible way. Aesthetically, iconography, they have a Star of David on their flag. They shave the Star of David into prisoners' heads. They brand them with the Star of David.
They carve it with fucking knives.
Carve it into their skin.
Brand it.
They talk about the supremacy of Jewish people. They talk about the Jews being the master race. That is Jewish supremacy. There are a lot of people on the left who are so shit scared of being accused of anti-Semitic that they effectively just paint Israel as an agnostic project. Or the alternative is they say it's American Christian fundamentalists who are supporting it. A lot of these rich, fucking nutter right-wing Christians. That is obviously not the case. There's a lot of those people, like fucking Mike Pompeo or whatever, who support Israel quite explicitly because they want to bring about the end times. They want there to be holy war, especially within that realm, because it's the birthplace of Christ.
I just think at this point we don't have to pretend anymore that it's Christian Zionists are holding millions and millions and millions of Jewish people captive for their own personal project. This secret Christian Zionist country that's just using Jewish imagery and symbolism. We can acknowledge now that it is something that the vast majority of Jewish people around the world, in some way, shape, or form, meaningfully support this rabid genocidal entity and believe that they have this unique right and privilege that no one else on the planet has.
They can be I'm friends with a Jewish American guy, Noah, very smart, very clever lad, and he says that he went to quite a liberal reformist synagogue as a child, and he says that they are just bloodthirsty Zionists fully now. And he says it's probably about as quote unquote progressive a synagogue as you get. The Jewish left tradition is also Zionistic. They are also fully in support of Israel. Sometimes they have stipulations about it. And fundamentally, so is Owen Jones. Owen Jones's position is a two-state solution. I was speaking to Felix from Chapo about it once, and he says it's Owen Jones literally just inhabits the exact same position as the US president has for the last fucking 70 years or whatever. Owen Jones is always posting about, I want, I don't support Israel. I just want a land where the Arabs and the Jews can cohabitate as equals. That's what Israel thinks it is already. You can't just steal a country and then as a compromise say, okay, we'll give you half. You
will never get to be on an equal footing because we're kind of like that. We're still going to control your trade,
obviously,
and foreign relations, and have this sizable military presence, and we're always going to hate you and think of you as subhumans. You can't go back. You can't. There's no sort of arrangement that you can set up, especially now.
But this is the fearless anti-Zionist British left. Owen Jones, as far as he's ever gone, is he wants a two-state solution. Fuck knows how he does that. What has Israel done for the last 18 months? Just utterly slaughtered, beheaded, mangled, destroyed every child, woman that it can find. And Owen Jones essentially wants a Good Friday agreement with these people. This is not the fucking IRA where they're calling up beforehand.
The gentleman bombers.
The gentleman assassins. Yeah. It's not. These are sadistic pigmen, Nazi. They are obsessed with death and decay and murder and suffering and misery so long as it happens within the boundaries of an Arab district.
Did you remember to condemn Hamas this morning?
I actually sincerely think, this is not an exaggeration, I think for the last 18 months, at least 3 times a week, Owen Jones has condemned Hamas. Aaron Bastani, the fearless anti-Zionist Aaron Bastani, talks about there needing to be a two-state solution where Israel has a hard militarized border. Why would you even suggest that?
Yeah.
Israel needs to have the biggest arsenal possible to mow down those Palestinians. think Owen Jones, I think Aaron Burstein, I think these people are the most disgusting people in this country because they lie is what it is. And Owen Jones has made an absolute fucking fortune off Palestinians.
Millions.
Of pretending. It must be millions. It absolutely must be millions. If you go look in his most recent book, some of the things that he writes about Palestine are utterly revolting. It's utterly fucking disgusting, the things that he writes. And he says, oh no, I was just echoing a sentiment that other people had. I was giving voice to what the Zionists think. There is absolutely no indicator whatsoever that is the case. And he just can't stop fucking lying. He's got a Patreon, he's got a Substack, he's got a YouTube with millions and millions of subscribers. He writes for The Guardian. This is how much money Owen Jones is making about fucking pretending to support Palestinians. Owen Jones' last Substack article, a fucking blog post. Owen Jones spent £20,000 getting it legally vetted so that he could fearlessly publish the conclusion that the BBC is Zionist. No fucking shit. The man's a lunatic.
Did someone say Rafi Berg?
The man is a complete lunatic. He's a narcissist. He's deeply in the throes of fucking cocaine.
Like, the thing with Owen is that, like, whatever you think of him, like, to what extent he's sort of a fucking witless stooge, like this hapless agent that's easily pushed and prodded into certain directions, and how much of it is deliberately cynical, like psychopathically cynical. And I think it's a bizarre mix of both. But he is absolutely like a massive corkhead fucking narcissist. Yeah. He cannot let anything go. I posted that video of him fucking, hey Jake, a few things here. And he sent that, like, I was going to a fucking rave that wasn't playing Israeli shit fucking EDM.
We should read that.
He sent that to me on a Friday at like 12 a.m. and it's like, I'm not fucking responding to this. I'm going out with a friend.
Owen Jones sent Jacob a message in the dead of night while Jacob was out. Responding to some kind of fucking trolling.
Yeah, like I replied to him with a picture of my fully erect dick, asking if him and his husband needed a third.
Yeah, I mean, Owen Jones was being a prick around the time. He was just taking the piss. And he messaged Jacob saying, hi, Jake, a few things here. First of all, no one calls Jacob Jake. That's not his name. It's not what he goes by. He says, firstly, suggesting I'm cowardly on Israel is deranged. I've used my platform almost every single day to combat Israel's genocide. You must know the consequences that come with that. People were suggesting, by the way, last month that the Mossad had given Owen Jones a tummy ache. He's genuinely a fucking narcissist, this man. But he says, as for Eyup Lovely, responding with let's fucking get this clear, right? I reposted on Twitter an article that said that Jewish people are innately, biologically smarter than Arabs. And I responded saying, could have fooled me, right? Which means I don't agree with that, right? That's what it means. Fundamentally, you boil that down, that's what that means. People are saying that is me saying that I think Jews control the world. And Owen Jones says, responding to an absurd study about IQ with the suggestion that Jewish people are stupid, or that a bus route to help protect Orthodox Jews in London suggests Jewish supremacy, is anti-Semitism. I don't even need to get into a debate about it because it is anti-Semitism. If you don't think it's anti-Semitism, you have a problem. He says the argument which seems to be coming up is, so what? It's not as bad as being bombed and starved to death, which is an argument which is completely alien to any basic leftist worldview. When I was canvassing in 2019, I had some British Indians angrily tell me that they wouldn't vote Labour because it supported terrorism. After some what the fuck is he on about, man? Literally, what is this?
He goes on and on.
Blah, 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 blah. Anti-Semitism isn't evil on its own terms, a menace. The Israeli state also feeds off the fears of the Jewish diaspora, which are objectively well-grounded in history, and which have shaped the actual family histories of the diaspora, including within living memory. The left starts embracing anti-Semitism. That will make those fears greater. You must have seen how many left-wing Jewish activists with impeccable records on Palestine are angry about this. Do you think that alienating such activists is a good thing? If you were people...
We could lose potentially dozens of people.
Yeah, potentially dozens of Owen Jones's mates. If you were the people running the Israeli state, would you want activists in solidarity with Palestine embracing this kind of anti-Semitism, alienating Jewish leftists? And that's why some people think Eyup Lovely is an op. I can't think of a better low-investment, high-yields operation than encouraging the spread of anti-Semitism, causing a massive ruckus on the online left, and alienating Jewish leftists. Specifically, right, Owen Jones called me anti-Semitic, and I insulted him, and Owen Jones literally cannot conceive of someone nominally left-wing having views ulterior to him. They have to either be someone who is anti-Semitic but hiding it deliberately, or an operative of the Mossad, right? It's the kind of thinking that you get when you are just fucking chronically addicted to cocaine, when you are just paranoid out your fucking mind all day. I mean, he was posting the other day about getting on a plane.
Oh, yeah, the plane.
He says, I got on the plane the other day and someone looked at me with a, some socialist look. It's like, this person doesn't fucking know who you are. He's literally just fucking delusional. He is utterly psychotic. The fact that anyone takes him seriously is maddening. But he needs to go to fucking rehab, if not be sectioned, because he's a madman. He's an insane
He's
person.
probably snorting like lines of actual meth, crystal meth off like circumcised Jewish penises at Buttmitzvah. But he gets into it with Les the Krog. And the thing is, dear Les, he didn't mention Owen by name. He didn't even say. And again, this is on a lovely Sunday evening. And there's a little detail I want to tell later after all of this about his profile picture. But Les starts, I'd say, and not quote tweeting, not replying, just a completely, it's like solitary post. I'd say if you attend a Zionist club event, you're probably a Zionist, but who knows? And 2 seconds later, fuck me, but he replies, but Mitzvah isn't a Zionist club event. It's a Jewish queer night. If you want to say that your objection is to Jewish people rather than to Zionists, then say it with your whole chest. And Les replies, no, not a Zionist event, just organized by a Zionist, attended by a majority of Zionists, covered in Israeli flags, but no, not a Zionist event. And he keeps going, it's not covered in Israeli flags, so what the fuck are you talking about? And he has a steering committee run by people of varying politics, and it's not a political night. It's a queer Jewish night, mostly attended by Jews of different politics and non-Jews / straight.
Owen Jones on a fucking gorgeous Sunday. It was a gorgeous Sunday. It's the hottest fucking Sunday I've seen in my life. The clearest blue skies. Owen Jones is on Twitter, searching in quotes, Zionist Club, to find accounts with 1,000 followers that have criticised him so that he can dogpile them.
He also called me a nasty little prick. And he's seen the picture of my prick, and it's definitely not little. And I wouldn't say it's nasty either.
That's utterly disgusting that he said that. I think he's trying to get his kills.
Ken Mazig posted this Buttmitzvah thing from 2022 on Instagram on the stories. And there was a naughty list handed out at the Buttmitzvah event.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the naughty list, you've got Kanye West, Bella Hadid, Jeremy Corbyn, Dua Lipa, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Khamenei, the entire FIFA World Cup, Donald Trump, the squad, Linda Sarsour, Mark Lamont, Hill, and the Jewish Voice of Peace.
It's like,
not a Zionist event, by the way.
This is not a Zionist event, but they have kooky little Christmas events where they write these bad lists, these naughty lists of anti-Semites, where they compare fucking Corbyn to Hitler. Jewish Voice for Peace? This is a place, a Jewish event, where they believe that members of Jewish Voice for Peace are anti-Semitic. and this is ostensibly not a political event, ostensibly not a Zionist event. And if you think that, you are an anti-Semite yourself. They think. But we do live in the United Kingdom of Great Britain, so as always, there is pedo news this week. Yet another. I need that pedo news theme song. One of Keir Starmer's new intake of the highest quality candidates ever, I believe he called them, has been arrested for child sex offences. Surprise, surprise. At the last election, he defeated Jacob Rees-Mogg and became an MP. Starmer campaigned really hard for him. He was arrested for rape and child sex offences. It took some time, but The Guardian did ultimately report on it, unlike previous Labour nonce Ivor Kaplan. And unlike Wes Streeting's senior parliamentary aide, last week convicted of exposing himself to a 13-year-old girl. But you wouldn't think that if you read their fucking headlines, because it's just described as indecent exposure. I didn't find out that it was a child until literally days later, until a separate publication, a right-wing publication, reported that there is kiddie gloves going on with this stuff. Obviously, The Guardian and company love to either say fuck all about it or completely downplay it to nothing. I believe that this fucking man has pled guilty, Wes Streeting's aide. But our pedo of the week, Dan Norris, the MP who was arrested, he was arrested on suspicion of sexual offences against a girl, child abduction, and misconduct in public office. The offences mostly took place in the 2000s. One offence was in the 2020s. He's been released on bail. This has been going on among fucking Blairites, specifically this fucking guy, for 20 years. There's no way that his fucking colleagues don't know about it at all.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. Obviously, to add to the great irony of it, this man, his previous career, he was a child protection officer, the National Society, the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Keir Starmer was told previously about some of his misconduct in office, not the child sex abuse, but he ignored it. This man is literally just in bed with all of the other Labour pedos. He's sharing office with Ivor Kaplan for some years. What the fuck were they doing? And this is when Dan Norris's crimes were taking place. So these two men who have been charged with various horrendous child sex offences shared an office for years, I believe in fucking Parliament. There's no fucking way that they didn't know about that. And word also does travel. This man has spent his entire career, Dan Norris, an advocate for the safety of children from child sexual abuse.
So the people on the fucking worst subreddit, the UK politics subreddit.
The worst subreddit in the fucking world.
Had
some of the stupidest people.
Some things to say about him. User Opel claimed that Norris was a stalker of a close family friend about 20 years ago and generally strange towards women, while atheist bumclapper, who claims to
played for paedophiles,
who claims to have met Norris a number of times, said it's always the ones you most suspect.
Yeah. It's an open secret with all of these fucking people. I don't know how many MPs I've heard about things that they have done that involve young people. I mean, fucking Andrew Rosendale, or whatever his name is, there was a dossier showing messages literally for tens of years of him grooming children, of him sending money to their mothers. Nothing happened. They don't report it in the press. There are a million examples of this in the Parliamentary Labour Party, specifically the fucking right wing, although they're all fucking right wing, but the Blairite nexus. They are all just paedophiles. And I've said for many fucking years, Blairism, and maybe the Labour Party entirely, is an ideologically pro-paedophile project. Literally, Margaret Hodge, who enabled the sexual abuse of children on a mass scale in Islington care homes, was made Minister for Children under Blair afterwards. Complete unwillingness from the press to even see that it's happening, much less connect any dots here. If Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party, they would be talking about this massive grand nonce conspiracy where they're all colluding and procuring what probably is happening. But they won't touch it because the man they want is in power. Literally, I cannot think of a single 30-day period of the last 5 years where there hasn't been a story implicating a Labour MP or official in sex crimes. You don't see that anywhere else in the fucking world. The Labour Party specifically seems to love promoting them, seems to love putting them in positions of power, indeed positions of power over children. What do you call that? And this episode could be fucking 10 hours long if I just sat and listed all the individuals from the Blair universe embroiled in paedophile scandals.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Pedo of the Week segment can last for decades.
And we're not even really getting off the topic because it's not just in Parliament. British entertainment and politics are symbiotic in their paedophilia, in their sexual violence.
Incestually
you
intertwined.
Needn't look no further than Jimmy Savile, of course, but while Jimmy Savile was a historically prolific child sex offender, unprecedentedly cruel and sadistic, he was also something of a sacrificial lamb. He abused countless hundreds of children. He's one of history's greatest monsters, but he wasn't acting alone. He's the tip of an iceberg that we never got to see the bottom of. There was historically, and there still is, a nexus of deeply nefarious individuals orbiting British politics, British entertainment, and clearly there was some kind of apparatus that was supplying children that was temporarily dismantled, but is clearly back up and running. And this week, after many, many months of investigation, after a Channel 4 documentary, Russell Brand was charged for some of the sex crimes that he's committed. He's obviously committed more. There are civil suits in America, but he was charged by the Crown Prosecution Service with 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 count of oral rape, and 2 counts of sexual assault, all taking place in Britain. And the investigation began September last year into one incident in 1999, categorized as rape, 1 incident in 2001, sexual assault, 2004, rape and sexual assault, 2004 and 5, sexual assault. All of this occurred before Brand's profile even was really raised. He's not even particularly famous in 2005. Not even fucking massively famous in Britain in 2005. Russell Brand's career, certainly in Britain, I don't know how much it translated when he moved internationally, but it was that he branded himself as a sex pest. He would brag about committing sex crimes. He would brag about getting away with it. Even as recently as maybe fucking 2012, he was on podcasts describing things that he did on television, that he did on, I think it was called Rebrand. He had a show probably around 1999 in the early 2000s, where he was just this demented, disgusting smackhead. And he did all this shit to homeless people. But one of the things that he does on that show, on television, and bragging about it in the consequent years, is that he pays a homeless man to masturbate him to completion. Russell Brand masturbates him to completion. He coerces a homeless man with a trivial amount of money into letting him masturbate him to completion on television. And when he's talking about it on a podcast years later, he says, effectively, well, pretty much word for word, he says that you have to go for a certain strata of person, you have to go for a certain section of society, because they need to be able to let you do a sex act on them and put it on national television. So he has specifically targeted people who are desolately poor, homeless people, to sexually assault on television. And it only since then, in the years after, his comedy became more and more clear. His stand-up specials, he's talking about it non-stop. In the Channel 4 documentary, they're showing clips from productions they produced where he's talking about sexually assaulting women as a joke, ostensibly. And he did it on television a million fucking times. Prior to getting his international profile, that was his shtick. And indeed, probably why he got cast in those Judd Apatow films as something of a roguish sex man rocker. After Russell Brand was charged this week, there is a civil case going on in America by a woman who alleged that he raped her on the set of this dog shit 2011 film called Arthur. It's a remake. And Warner Brothers, after the arrest, has agreed in the civil case to provide 8 hours of outtake footage to, I don't know if it's prosecutor, I don't know what it's called in a fucking civil case. They have agreed to provide 8 hours of outtakes, which would potentially corroborate this allegation of sexual assault. I do not doubt that this has happened on basically every fucking film that he's done. I do not doubt that there is a tidal wave coming. Indeed, the initial accusations in Britain, some of them involve girls who are 16. I mean, he has publicly been with girls who are 16, but he's also in the documentary and the reporting, he was having girls ferried from secondary school to, like, Channel 4 to the BBC. This is very reminiscent of Jimmy Savile. It's not possible, again, that these people didn't know. It's not possible that the producers didn't know. If he doesn't cooperate with the British police, they will try and extradite him, which would be interesting. I do wonder if his friendship with Bobby Kennedy, his allegiance to Trump, would frustrate that in any way.
Yeah, like I guess he's unfortunately played his cards a little too well there. I don't think they'll hand him over. It is the rapist White House, like from fucking.
Very much so. I mean, Conor McGregor was there. They just love him. They love specifically people who have been accused of rape, because they are trying to create this little fucking brotherhood of man of people who have been accused of rape and have their quote unquote reputations tarnished. Obviously, like Conor McGregor is the more fucking obvious rapist. Russell Brand is the more obvious rapist. But as soon as Russell Brand caught wind of an investigation into him, which was many months before anything was published, he flipped on a dime ideologically, and suddenly he started talking about fucking Bill Gates and Soros and fucking vaccines. He's now occupying the ideological space of, like, Bobby Kennedy mixed with Tucker Carlson. It's very, very obvious. When the investigation was released, certainly the documentary and the reporting in the Sunday Times, he decided to become a born-again Christian. He got baptized. And now he just wanks on about Jesus all the time. Very unconvincing.
It's great how, like, nakedly and just so obviously cynical and self-interested that is. What an obvious rebrand. And obviously, because the American right especially are subhumanly stupid and thick as pig shit. A lot of them have fully bought it, but I think a few know that it doesn't. The smarter ones know that he's completely cynical and disingenuous about this, but they like it anyway. They love rapists. They love child abusers. And if you toe the line and say all the correct rhetoric, espouse all of the right beliefs, then there isn't a monster on this earth too depraved that they won't embrace and defend till their dying breaths. Scum, all of them. And Russell Brand should have the skin peeled from his face, his tiny microscopic cock sliced off and force-fed to him. He's a fucking monster. I really want to stress to our viewers who haven't seen the picture I posted, Russell Brand got arrested naked by the police at some fucking protest, I don't remember where. And his dick is literally half an inch long.
It's the tiniest cock I've ever seen in my life.
It's tiny.
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Looks like it was summer as well, can't been that cold.
No.
Russell Brand has two sides almost. The way that he depicts himself to America and the way that he depicts himself to Britain. I'd say maybe 10 years ago, he suddenly decided that he was some kind of anarcho-communist. He was on fucking
Yeah, the trues. It's true news.
The true news. He was
wanker.
He was wanking on all the time. He was going on. He was speaking at Paxman at one point. Says don't vote, and everyone got very angry about it. And then just like the day before the 2015 election, he goes, vote for Ed Miliband. Actually, but then he started touring, and he was branding himself as like a fucking Leninist messiah. Like it was very, very odd. And indeed spent a lot of time criticizing Israel.
You know, I hate to say it, beast mode there, I'm afraid. I'll let him have that one.
Now he is a foam at the mouth Zionist. on British television before he did a few of these, I don't know what the fuck's called. They're like a panel show at the end of the year, the big fat quiz of the year.
Yeah. So it's like he's always been like a shock artist. Like when he was first on TV,
yeah,
he did like a chart show where he got to Ibiza and they'd play the top 10 dance songs.
Yeah.
But he got sacked from that because he dressed up as Osama bin Laden and came into work dressed like that the day after 9/11.
Wow.
And apparently he brought his drug dealer into the office.
Yeah.
Then he went on XFM. Then he went to work for XFM, but he got sacked for reading porn on air.
Yeah.
And like you said, he went to host Rebrand. He got wanked off.
And also, to be specific, at that time, it's not just wanking on homeless people. He had, I think it's also on Rebrand, he had an episode of something where he was paying a homeless person to try and like fix their life or something. And he was ordering them about. He was making them take baths in front of him. He was making them sleep in the same bed as him. He was dressing them, making them put on deodorant, making them go on like restaurant dates with him. The homeless guy's like very uncomfortable the whole time. He is, even non-sexually, he's also a predator. He's predatory in everything he does. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, so on that, he spent time with Mark Collett as well, who is the leader of Patriotic Alternative and was the head of the Young BNP
He's
at the time.
crackhead.
And then in 2007, he was on Big Fat Quiz with Noel Fielding as the goth detectives. And in this edition, Jonathan Ross joked that Fielding and Brand should be kept as far away as possible from the singer Lily Allen, as they were, quote, two of the best known cocksmen in the business. Fielding would say, we're not rapists. While Jimmy Carr would ask, well, why are you wearing a cape if you're not a rapist? And then Brand would respond, what if, horror of horrors, he ain't even done a rape? Now, I don't know much about all the allegations about Fielding. I don't know if people have accused him of rape. I've not seen it. But I know that he did have some sort of intimate relationship with a 16-year-old Peaches Geldof when he was 33.
And let's be clear, maybe Dave won't call him a rapist, but I will. Noel Fielding is very obviously a rapist, very obviously some kind of nonce. It has been an open secret in British entertainment for a long time. In the Russell Brand documentary, they are alluding to these other figures in British comedy who do the same thing. They're obviously talking about Noel Fielding. Noel Fielding, over the last 2 years, has been in an Apple TV Plus show called The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin. And they were on the second season. This is a high-budget show on fucking Apple TV Plus. In the middle of the second season, they had filmed 70% of it. Noel Fielding abandoned the set, didn't turn up to work, and fled the country, and has ostensibly surfaced somewhere in France. They've had to cancel that show. Apple has fucking just shat out fucking hundreds of millions of dollars because with no explanation, Noel Fielding has just run away. Now, obviously, this to me smells like he can see something coming. There are a lot of predators in British entertainment, in British comedy. It doesn't take a fucking genius to deduce the Noel Fielding thing. As Dave says, he was in a relationship with the 16-year-old Peaches Geldof when he was in his 30s. He is known in the same way as Russell Brand as something of a sex pest. I mean, I've heard allegations about Matt Lucas, David Walliams, all of those fucking people. You used to be able to go on Matt Lucas's Twitter and he was following fucking 10,000 people and their bios all just had the rainbow flag in it and like 16, 15. And I remember there was one young gay man on Twitter. I'm allowed to say this, by the way, because I'm just reporting something that I read that someone else said. There was a young gay man on Twitter who said that Matt Lucas had offered them a flight to Turkey to get veneers implanted in their mouth in exchange for sexual pictures. I believe that. I have no reason not to believe that. I 100% believe that these people just sit and troll the internet. Certainly, if you go on fucking Noel Fielding's Twitter 10 years ago, fucking, he was just speaking to young girls on there all the time. Clearly, these people were using their platforms as a means of finding, procuring, selecting. Even if it's not children, then it is people significantly less wealthy, powerful.
Yes, at a disadvantage.
Through which they can make them ignore the fact that they are repulsive, utterly revolting-looking British goth pedos. The Crown Prosecution Service says right now that you're not allowed to talk about this. It says, it's like with the Lucy Letby thing. You're not allowed to report about it because it might prejudice the investigation. But actually, I am allowed to talk about it because I say so. And I'm not fucking prejudicing anything. These are my opinion backed up by fucking public domain reporting. And I think the hush-hush culture in this country just always protects these people. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to say anything. No one's allowed to talk about the fact that fucking Sir David Jason from Only Fools and Horses, Del Boy, is... Everyone knows he's a paedophile. Literally everyone.
He's got some dodgy friends.
Yeah, he's got some dodgy friends. He's got some real fucking dodgy friends. Some children were molested at his house while he was ostensibly on holiday.
Have you been shagging kids in my bed again? Oh, you bloody plonker. I told you not to do that.
And literally everyone knows that this man is a paedophile. People talk about it quite openly, but nothing will happen until he dies. There is a culture of protection. David Jason hosts a show about... I think it's about MI6 or something, where it's just like, oh, look how class these guys are. So he's certainly paying off, or he's at least paying dividends to them. Russell Brand has had a million different fucking things over the years. He was on, like you were talking about Jonathan Ross earlier, on the radio. He rang up Andrew Sachs and was talking about shagging his granddaughter.
Yeah, that was a fucking massive controversy, wasn't it? It was like on the level of the 2008 financial crisis.
It was unbelievable. They both got sacked. Yeah, they were that was on. They were talking about that for literally fucking years. It certainly destroyed his standing in Britain. And he's had a million different things like this, a million different fucking sexual controversies. He courted it. He loved it. It's his brand. Like with Jimmy Savile, in many ways, he was acting like a massively exaggerated sexual predator to dissuade people of the notion that he actually was a sexual predator.
Yeah.
And
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, indeed, hiding in plain sight. And people in this country love to talk about, how did Jimmy Savile get away with it? Everyone knew who's a pedophile. Everyone had a story. Everyone's mum, auntie, grandma had heard. You just take one look at him.
There's a video on YouTube. I can't remember the title of it. It shouldn't be too hard to find. It's like British or like BBC comedians making like inside winking jokes about.
Oh, there's shitloads of them.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute video.
Johnny Rotten mentioned it on the radio. And it's like Johnny Rotten mentioned it on the radio, and they cut it out.
Yeah.
At the time, every single person knew, and it is a common refrain in this country. How did he get away with it for so long? Well, how did Russell Brand get away with it for so long? How is Russell Brand currently getting away with it? How are all of these people? Everyone has heard stories about that generation of British comedians, of British comic, British entertainers, and I've never fucking been to London. I've heard all sorts of things. Women specifically in that area, in the places that went to the same places that these people frequent, they have to warn each other. These people are predators. They need to look out for each other. This is something that they say in the documentary. There is also a massive contingent in this country, and indeed America, of people who just love to think that false accusations of sexual assault, false accusations of sexual abuse are utterly rampant when it is, a fucking rounding error. There is basically doesn't happen at all. But these people will stick their neck out for every single person accused of these things. You see it vehemently with Conor McGregor. These people, I like this man. He made me laugh and he fight, so he can't have done that. Conor McGregor's accused of raping every country on the face of the earth.
Literally. I think as well for them, it's like they do want to literally create a culture where... like a literal rape culture where accusations don't mean anything because they themselves often are rapists, like misogynists, predators, whatever you want to, like whatever they are. It's like they want to create a world where it's like that is publicly acceptable, or at least nothing can be done about it. That you can rape whoever you want, you can get away with it. That's like part of the project. Like the end project of any kind of like it's just a right-wing thing with like the whole thing is about domination, coercion, hurting other people.
Yeah.
And why, like, especially like when you see those like tin pot fascist fucking dictatorships in South America over the 20th century, like Pinochet, Stroessner, like what's the climax of that? It's just like violently raping and torturing and killing children and young girls and women and stuff like that. Like that's the climax, the peak of like that type of like right-wing psychology is just what's the most vulnerable, defenseless and innocent person I can maximally hurt.
Yeah.
It's degenerate subhuman behavior.
Absolutely.
And you can't compromise with it, you can't reason with it, and when it raises its ugly head you should fucking stamp on it with steel-toed boots.
And the defense of Russell Brand predates him being accused of anything. Like it was implicit, certainly. They don't explicitly say it, but the people were making these arguments about him. You know, he's a naughty boy, but he's not. You know, he's not that bad. Mark Fisher, as Dave has said.
Yeah. So when he went on Newsnight, Paxman asked him, "What gives Russell Brand the right to edit the New Statesman, and Brand said something along the lines of, "Oh well, a pretty woman asked me to," and I don't know what the response to that was at the time. I was 13 years old, but it was clearly strong enough that Mark Fisher felt the need to dedicate about 10 paragraphs in exiting the vampire castle to it, and he was kind of infatuated with Brand. He called him cool, sexy, and proletarian.
Yes, yes,
a rare and authentic working class voice, and any sort of criticism of him was liberal moralism.
They have such a condescending, limited view of the actual working class, don't they? It's like, yeah, you're all sleazy, smackhead rapists, are you? Peasants in King's Landing, that's what you are, aren't you?
But even at the time, they weren't people just hunting for sexist remarks.
Yeah.
It was a very clear pattern of behaviour from Brand.
Yeah.
And obviously Fisher couldn't have known that he'd been charged with rape, but it's happened. And to try and defend him at the time as he's just having a bit of banter, it's like anybody could have figured out it would have ended up like this.
But I mean, that's literally the defence. That's literally how he gets away with it, and it's how Jimmy Savile got away with it. It's literally just is a bit of banter. He's joking. I'm feared in every girls' school in Britain. You remember that? Jimmy Savile said all of these things constantly, just all the time. Every other word out of Jimmy Savile's mouth was, "I'm a paedophile and I'm going to get caught one day." Like, people would go to bat for him like they do for Russell Brand, like they did for Russell Brand, and like they're doing now, where they would say that it's one thing. Yeah, he said some crass things, but it's not representative of who he is. But literally, they couldn't help themselves. It's bleeding through. They couldn't just pretend not to be that, because it's so ingrained in their character that they have to crank it up to absolute max so that it becomes an absurdity. And Mark Fisher, probably, one of his most well-known pieces of writing is
probably one of the most well-known left-wing articles of this century.
Yeah.
Certainly most controversial.
And it's about fucking Russell Brand and Owen Jones. It's about how fucking ace they are. The kind of voices back then, such as the world changed, the kind of voices that were opposing Russell Brand back then, though not all of them, were like fucking Aaron Bastani. Aaron Bastani has a video, by the way. For any listeners, go on Google, search Novara Media, #love the police, right? There's a video of Aaron Bastani disputing something that Russell Brand was saying. Russell Brand was saying that we need to show police love or whatever. Some nonsense. He's always talking bollocks like this. And in that video, Aaron Bastani says the N-word twice.
Oh! Interesting.
Yeah.
After Brand interviewed Ed Miliband in 2015 and basically endorsed Labour, Owen Jones wrote, obviously, that article for The Guardian titled, "Russell Brand has endorsed Labour and the Tories should be worried."
And I seen him talking about this. I seen him talking about all that, because Owen Jones has written many times over the years about how fucking amazing Russell Brand is. And he was saying, well, I was a journalist for The Guardian. The Guardian told me to write this. And it's like, no, they fucking didn't.
Another sacrificial
There's a million photos of Owen Jones fucking hugging Russell Brand. Owen Jones's cover quote on his book is Russell Brand calling him the modern Orwell.
Can we make that the episode image? Brand could
he was writing this shit all the fucking time. They loved him. They all loved him. And they thought that his crassness and his substance abuse issues and whatever else, and his clearly decadent and destructive lifestyle of sexual hedonism, they thought that and they wrote it at the time, that this is just a true working class voice. Just a working class. No. He was a smackhead 30 years ago. Like, it's like, well, yeah, this is an authentic working class voice, because all working class people are massive fucking toothless rapists. But again, Owen Jones, people like that, they are aristocrats, basically. So they've never met anyone who's fucking working class. So to them, when Russell Brand is, "Oi, mate, yeah," he's speaking like a fucking cab driver and he's talking about how much he loves to rape women, they're like, oh yeah, that's proletarian. I don't think Russell Brand is the only one that is doing this. I think he's the one that will go down, and I do think he'll get prosecuted for it, and I do think he'll go to prison for it, and I hope it's for fucking life, and I hope, maybe we'll have to beat this up, but I hope he kills himself in prison.
Yeah.
I sincerely loathe everything that he represents, even before this, but I think he is one of the most fucking evil figures. I would love to know, I don't know which fucking film company produced it, but I would love the fucking behind the scenes outtakes of Get Him to the Greek of forgetting Sarah Marshall. There's no way that he wasn't fucking up to no good on that. What does Judd Apatow know?
Well, funnily enough, distributed by Universal, so maybe we'll get to see.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Obviously, more people are going to come forward. Obviously, this will keep going.
I wonder if him and Diddy probably ate a person. like they probably.
There's a famous Stuart Lee did a song in 2012 something about Russell Brand's marriage to Katy Perry.
Russell Brand's wedding.
It's called Russell Brand's Wedding.
Russell Brand's wedding.
And famously, at Russell Brand's wedding,
Talk about Russell Brand's wedding.
there was all these famous people. Noel Gallagher.
Noel Gallagher. Rihanna.
And David Baddiel.
David Baddiel.
David Baddiel.
Yeah, he's singing about P. Diddy rapping and David Baddiel clapping.
In the Indian jungle clearing, P. Diddy is rapping. In the Indian jungle clearing, David Baddiel is clapping.
Russell Brand and David Baddiel and all of these fucking people have been like, oh yeah, I went to a fucking Diddy party, but it was boring. No, it happened. It's like Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx, for 10 years straight, every single time he went on a talk show, every single time he was on any of these things, indeed, when he was on Joe Rogan later on, when he was on Stephen Colbert, when he was on Ellen, you can watch these all. It tells the same story, and it's a vehicle for him doing impressions of a lot of people, but he's saying that he had a bet with P. Diddy as to who could host the better party.
When Puff was like super huge in music, like Puff would walk into a club and he would just leave with everybody like and all the girls. And when Puff would show up at the club, we couldn't even get in the club if we was in LA because he'd just take over everything, right?
He was so famous, we couldn't get into our own clubs in LA. And I couldn't even get in the club because he was so famous. And not right now, Fox, Diddy in here.
You know, you couldn't even get in his parties.
Because P. Diddy's parties were so infamous. And he details this party that he had, and it is his, like, it's embarrassing.
The way I would get in his parties, I show up with a camera.
So I started carrying a camera to get into the parties.
One day I flipped it on him and showed up in it was town car days. I had a town car.
And I said, I popped out of the sedan. I was riding a sedan.
I would actually follow him with a camera.
I popped out just about to go into the club. I said, Puff.
Popped out the town car with a camera. Said, yo, Puff, yo.
Tells the same story.
You gotta let me film this.
Yo, Puff, you need to document this shit.
We need to document this, Playboy.
I said, can I document? Yo, we got to get this UFOs, right? This shit is crazy.
It's word for word. He repeats this on every show.
I had the big fucking cannon that you put on your shoulder.
No, so I had the big Canon camera
with the light and shit, and the light and the shit.
With the light and the batteries.
And it wasn't like the little, no, it was the big fucking Canon.
And it wasn't back in the day with the camera phone.
And I had the big Canon camera. It wasn't like this.
Puff, recreate that. My battery went down.
Yo, do that again, Puff.
When it's in front of white people, he does it differently. When it's in front of black people, he does it differently.
We were actually in Philly, and he was throwing a party, and he said, yo, Playboy.
I got Puff at this party in Philly.
I went to Philly, followed him all the way to Philly. He threw a party, and he said, yo, Playboy, this
party's $1.5 million. I said, like, for what? I mean, what are you saying?
And he said he spent $1.5 million.
On the party?
I said, you spent, what, nigga? You spent $1.5 million on the party? He said, yeah, Playboy. You said, and it was fly. It was incredible.
This party cost $1.5 million to throw. I'm like, you are out of your mind.
It was his stump speech.
And I told him, I'll throw you a party in LA for $400.
And I said, Puff, I'll throw you a party for $400.
I said, you come to my place in LA, I'll throw you a party for $400.
That'll rival this party.
That will rival this party.
That will rival this party.
And he was like, you out of your fucking mind. I said, I'm telling you. So anyway, he comes to LA on a Saturday. He says, make it happen.
Well, he called like Saturday morning. Yo, Playboy, I'm in town. Make it happen. I said, cool.
So he gets to LA and he calls me early in the morning. Yo, Playboy, make that shit happen.
Like 8 in the morning. Get in my phones. We get 200 people at my small house. That's the dopest people in LA.
I invited the right people, the right girls who were beautiful, but not too tight, not too, just.
It was incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, but look at the spread.
He said, oh man, this is great. And I said, yeah, but Puff, look over there on the dinner table. I got
Kentucky Fried Chicken over there. I just put it in the plate.
I said, look over there on the table. I got Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. I put it in a nice plate.
I said, I just got Coca-Cola and it was cool.
I said, I got Coca-Cola. I put it in a pitcher.
But I put it in a nice plate. I got Coca-Cola, but it's just in a pitcher. I said, we're at $280 right now and counting. I won't go over 400.
We're at $208 and we are killing it right now. Right?
$400 max. At that party was amazing. One party I did for Drake, 2,500 people counted. At 3 in the afternoon, like 50 girls showed up in a van.
And Jamie Foxx, after his stroke, he did a Netflix special. It's incomprehensible. He doesn't even really say that he had a stroke. It makes you more confused about what happened than before. But he's straight in there saying, I left those parties early, you know? I didn't see anything, you know? I never saw a fucking thing.
The internet said that Puffy tried to kill me.
And that's what they're all saying. Like, every single one of them is just, I left those parties early. But there's no way they didn't know.
I left them parties early. I was out by 9. Something don't look right. It's slippery in here.
It's similar to sort of like where all of the people associated with Epstein, where they go, I just needed him for his financial advice.
Like Chomsky.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking numbers. Sure, mate.
Yeah, he's a great money man.
It's like, well, Bill Gates. Bill Gates compared what Epstein did after his conviction to stealing an orange or something, or stealing an apple. I believe ostensibly that's why Melinda divorced him. It's obviously not, but that's what she was briefing the press. But it was many years later that she divorced him, so it's bollocks.
Yeah, they're in the same club at the end.
These people, I don't think that they are all fucking satanic child sacrifices, but I do think that every single one of them knows and knew and was privy to it, and they ultimately don't care about it. It's ultimately inoffensive to them. The same thing that's happening in the fucking Liver Pie. What is it about sex with children that Keir Starmer finds so appealing? We'll never know.
I think sex with children is bloody brilliant. Now, I don't partake in it, but I support anyone who does.
Pedophiles are brilliant. He is a monster.
I literally, before we started recording, I was like dotting around the house like a mental patient for about an hour straight, just doing various chores and tasks. And I just kept going, pedophiles and the things they do with children, I think is bloody brilliant.
I mean, if he released a Labour manifesto with just that, he'd win 70% of the popular vote. This country is drowned in it. It has got nonce cancer. I do believe that is the long and the short of it for today. We've covered a lot of developments, and we'll get a fucking another one out soon as well.
It's a fucking long one.
Yeah, it is. I'm Eyup Lovely from the series of tubes we love to call the internet, and I am joined by the hapless homo, Jacob Venom Snake. Jacob, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. It was a pleasure once again.
And my other delightful co-host, Dave number 7. Dave, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you all for listening. Bye.
As the sun sinks on the Indian day, as the last Indian tiger slinks away, David Baddiel sinks into his Indian bed. He knows that Russell Brand and Katy Perry are